The mysterious moment everything shifts. You've been working on your wealth for months, maybe years. Doing the inner work, taking aligned action, maintaining your frequency. And for the longest time, it feels like nothing is changing. You're making progress, but it's slow, incremental, almost imperceptible. Then one day, seemingly out of nowhere, everything shifts. Opportunities start appearing from multiple directions. Money flows from unexpected sources. What was hard becomes easy. What required effort becomes effortless. You've hit the quantum wealth tipping point. And here's what you need to understand. Nothing changes, nothing changes, nothing changes, until everything does. All at once. Suddenly. Dramatically. This isn't random luck. This is quantum mechanics. And knowing how to recognize and navigate this tipping point is the difference between giving up right before your breakthrough and riding the wave into exponential abundance. Let me explain what the quantum wealth tipping point is and why it's one of the most important concepts in manifestation that nobody talks about. In physics, a tipping point is the critical threshold where accumulated small changes suddenly produce a large, dramatic shift. Water doesn't gradually become steam, it stays liquid up to a certain temperature, then transforms instantly at the boiling point. The same principle applies to wealth creation at the quantum level. You're putting in effort, maintaining frequency, taking action. For a long time, you see minimal external results. Your bank account isn't dramatically different. Your income hasn't radically shifted. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. But at the quantum level, everything is happening. Energy is accumulating. Patterns are forming. The field is reorganizing. You're approaching the tipping point, but you can't see it yet because the transformation hasn't reached critical mass. This is where most people quit. They've been doing the work for weeks or months, and they don't see proportional results, so they conclude it's not working. They stop right before the tipping point, right before all that accumulated energy would have cascaded into visible manifestation. They never experience the breakthrough because they didn't understand that quantum shifts don't happen linearly. They happen suddenly, after a period of seeming stagnation. The quantum wealth tipping point operates on what's called threshold dynamics. Below the threshold, small inputs create small outputs. You're working, but results are modest and slow. But once you cross the threshold, the same inputs create exponentially larger outputs. It's not that you're doing more or trying harder, you've simply reached the critical point where the accumulated energy tips into manifestation. Suddenly, opportunities multiply. Money flows faster. Everything clicks into place. Think of it like pushing a boulder up a hill. For most of the journey, you're pushing hard and making slow progress. It's exhausting and demoralizing. But once you reach the top, the tipping point, the boulder starts rolling on its own, accelerating down the other side. You shift from pushing to guiding, from forcing to flowing, from effort to ease. This is what happens at the quantum wealth tipping point. Your role fundamentally changes from creator to receiver. What makes the tipping point tricky is that you can't predict exactly when it will happen. You can't force it or rush it. It emerges naturally when you've accumulated enough coherent energy in the field, when your frequency has been sustained long enough, when the patterns you've been establishing reach critical density. Your job isn't to make the tipping point happen. Your job is to maintain your practice until it does. To trust the process during the long period of invisible accumulation. The tipping point also explains why some people seem to go from struggling to successful overnight. From the outside, it looks sudden and miraculous. But if you could see the quantum level, you'd see months or years of accumulating energy finally reaching critical mass. The overnight success was years in the making at the energetic level. The tipping point is just when the invisible work becomes visible results. Understanding the tipping point changes how you relate to the journey. Instead of getting discouraged during the slow accumulation phase, you recognize it as necessary preparation for the breakthrough. Instead of judging yourself for not seeing massive results yet, you understand you're building toward critical mass. Instead of changing strategies every few weeks because you're not seeing instant results, you maintain consistency through the threshold knowing the tipping point is coming. The physics of quantum breakthrough. To understand how to navigate the quantum wealth tipping point, you need to understand the actual physics of how breakthrough moments occur. This isn't mystical, it's how complex systems work at the quantum level. And once you understand the mechanics, you can work with them instead of against them. The first principle is what's called critical threshold accumulation. Imagine filling a bathtub one drop at a time. 4 hours, you add drops and nothing dramatic happens. The water level slowly rises. But eventually, you add one more drop and the tub overflows. That single drop didn't cause the overflow. All the previous drops created the conditions where one more drop triggers cascade. Your wealth tipping point works the same way. Every aligned action, every day of frequency maintenance, every moment of trust is a drop. Individually, they seem insignificant. But they're accumulating toward critical mass. There's also the principle of phase transition, the quantum phenomenon where matter suddenly changes state. Water stays liquid as temperature rises, then at exactly 100 degrees Celsius, it transforms to steam. Not gradually, instantly. Your wealth frequency works similarly. You maintain alignment day after day with modest results, then you hit the phase transition point and suddenly money flows, opportunities multiply, everything shifts. The energy is the same before and after the tipping point. What changed is that you crossed the threshold where the energy manifests differently. Another key concept is constructive interference. When waves align in phase, they amplify each other exponentially. Your daily frequency maintenance creates waves in the quantum field. Initially, these waves are small and don't align perfectly. But as you maintain consistency, the waves begin to synchronize. At the tipping point, they achieve coherent alignment and amplify each other, creating a massive surge of manifestation that's exponentially larger than the sum of individual efforts. The quantum field also operates on what's called self-organizing criticality. Systems naturally evolve toward critical states where small inputs can trigger large-scale reorganization. As you maintain your wealth frequency, you're moving the quantum field toward this critical state around your finances. Once critical, even small aligned actions trigger disproportionate results. This is why things suddenly feel effortless at the tipping point. The field has organized itself to support your wealth, and you're working with tremendous leverage. There's also network effects at play. Each manifestation creates connections in the field, relationships, opportunities, resources. Initially, these connections are sparse and isolated. But at a certain density, the connections begin to connect with each other, creating a web. This is the tipping point, when your manifestation network reaches the density where everything starts connecting organically. One opportunity leads to 3 others. One connection introduces you to 5 people. The network becomes self-sustaining and exponentially generative. Another factor is what physicists call hysteresis, the phenomenon where a system's current state depends on its history of states. Your field builds memory of your frequency consistency. Each day you maintain alignment adds to this memory. At the tipping point, the field's memory of your abundance frequency becomes stronger than its memory of your lack frequency. The default flips. Instead of the field reverting to lack, old default, it maintains abundance, new default. This is when wealth becomes your new normal rather than something you have to work to create. The principle of emergence is also crucial, where complex patterns and behaviors arise from simple rules repeated consistently. You follow simple practices, maintain frequency, take aligned action, trust the process. Nothing fancy, but repeated consistently over time, these simple rules generate emergent complexity at the tipping point. Suddenly, complex opportunities appear. Sophisticated synchronicities occur. Multi-layered abundance shows up. You didn't consciously create this complexity. It emerged from your simple, consistent practice reaching critical mass. Finally, there's quantum tunneling, the ability for particles to pass through barriers that classical physics says should be impenetrable, but only when sustained pressure is applied. Your wealth barriers, the ceiling you keep hitting, the level you can't break through, can be tunneled through at the quantum level. But it requires sustained frequency until you reach the tipping point. Then, seemingly impossible barriers dissolve instantly. Not through force, but through quantum tunneling enabled by reaching critical energy density. Signs you're approaching your wealth tipping point. One of the most frustrating aspects of the tipping point is not knowing how close you are. You could be 1 week away from breakthrough and not know it, which makes it easy to quit prematurely. But there are signs, subtle shifts in your experience that indicate you're approaching critical mass. Learning to recognize these signs helps you push through when you're closest to breakthrough. The first sign is what I call effortless consistency. Early in your practice, maintaining your wealth frequency requires effort and discipline. You have to remind yourself, push yourself, talk yourself into it. But as you approach the tipping point, consistency becomes natural. You don't have to force yourself to maintain frequency, it's just who you are now. This shift from effortful to effortless consistency indicates your identity has integrated the new frequency, which is often the final piece before breakthrough. Another sign is increased synchronicity frequency. You start noticing meaningful coincidences more often. The right person reaches out at the right time, you think of something and it appears. Opportunities align in unexpected ways. Synchronicities are the field's way of communicating that your frequency is being received and responded to. When they increase in frequency, you're approaching the threshold where the field can manifest larger responses. You might also experience what I call the calm before breakthrough, a period where you feel surprisingly peaceful about your finances despite external circumstances not having changed yet. This inner calm without external evidence is a sign your nervous system has crossed its own tipping point. You've built enough internal trust and safety that you're no longer in survival mode about money. This nervous system regulation is often what allows the external breakthrough to occur. Another indicator is small, unexpected wins starting to appear. Not huge manifestations yet, but little things, a refund you didn't expect, a small opportunity that appears, someone offering help. These micro-manifestations are like the first drops of rain before the storm. They indicate your frequency is beginning to manifest, and larger manifestations are building behind them. Don't dismiss these small wins as insignificant, they're evidence you're approaching critical mass. You may notice that your doubts feel different. Instead of overwhelming and convincing, they feel like background noise you can observe without believing. This shift in your relationship with doubt, from consumed by it to aware of it but not controlled by it, indicates you've built sufficient trust and frequency strength that doubt can't derail you anymore. This resilience is crucial for navigating the final approach to the tipping point. Time perception often shifts as you approach breakthrough. The period of accumulation that felt eternal starts to feel like it passed quickly. You're not constantly checking for results or obsessing about when it will happen. You're in the work, trusting the process, and time moves differently. This shift from desperate time watching to present moment engagement is often the final release of resistance that allows the tipping point to occur. You might also experience increased clarity about your path. Decisions that used to feel agonizing become obvious. You know what's aligned and what isn't without second guessing. This clarity indicates your frequency is stable and strong enough that you can read the field's guidance accurately. Clear guidance is often a sign the field is preparing to deliver larger opportunities that you'll need to recognize and act on quickly. Another sign is that your energy levels change. Instead of feeling depleted from your wealth practices, you feel energized by them. Instead of pushing through resistance, you're flowing with momentum. This energy shift indicates you've moved from forcing, which drains, to flowing, which energizes. Flow state is the natural condition at and beyond the tipping point. Finally, you may notice other people responding to you differently. They're more likely to say yes to your offers, to trust you quickly, to introduce you to opportunities. This isn't because you're doing anything different externally, it's because your energetic signature has shifted. You're emanating the frequency that's about to manifest, and others can sense it even before you see concrete results. Navigating the breakthrough without self-sabotage. Reaching the tipping point is one thing. Successfully navigating the breakthrough without unconsciously sabotaging it is another. Many people finally hit their quantum wealth breakthrough only to panic and pull back into familiar limitation. Understanding how to stay grounded and open during the breakthrough determines whether you integrate the new level or snap back to your old baseline. The first challenge at the tipping point is capacity shock. When money and opportunities suddenly start flowing faster than you're used to, your nervous system can go into overwhelm. This is too much, too fast, I can't handle this. This fear response is your nervous system trying to protect you from the unfamiliar. The key is recognizing it as nervous system activation, not truth. Breathe through it. Remind yourself that you've been preparing for this. Your work was building the capacity to handle this level. Trust that you're ready even if it feels overwhelming. Another common pitfall is imposter syndrome intensification. When the breakthrough happens, the voice that says, "You don't deserve this," or "You're a fraud," often gets louder because now there's actual evidence to fear losing. This is your identity catching up to your new reality. The practice is to acknowledge the imposter thoughts without believing them or acting from them. Keep showing up in your new reality even while the old identity screams that you don't belong there. The identity will catch up if you don't retreat. You might also experience what I call breakthrough guilt, feeling bad about your success when others are still struggling, or feeling like you don't deserve good things when you haven't suffered enough for them. This guilt can unconsciously drive you to sabotage or give away your abundance. The reframe is understanding that your breakthrough doesn't take anything from anyone else. You living in abundance actually raises the frequency for everyone around you. Your wealth expands possibility for others. It doesn't diminish it. There's also the danger of immediately raising your ceiling expectations before integrating your current breakthrough. You hit one level, and instead of allowing yourself to stabilize there, you immediately set a higher goal and start stressing about achieving that. This prevents integration and can create the frequency of never enough that blocks sustained abundance. Practice pausing at each breakthrough to celebrate, integrate, and allow your nervous system to adjust before reaching for the next level. Another challenge is the temptation to explain or justify your breakthrough to people who are skeptical or struggling. Their doubt or judgment can trigger you to doubt yourself or to overgive/over-explain in ways that drain your energy and frequency. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your abundance. Protect your breakthrough by maintaining boundaries around who you share it with and how much energy you spend defending or explaining it. You might also face the urge to quit your practices once the breakthrough happens. It worked, so I don't need to do this anymore. But the practices that got you to the tipping point are also what will keep you there and take you beyond. Many people reach breakthrough, stop their practices thinking they've arrived, and watch their abundance recede. The tipping point isn't the finish line, it's the beginning of a new level that requires continued frequency maintenance. There's also what I call comparison trap acceleration. At the breakthrough, you might suddenly become aware of people at even higher levels, and comparison can kill your gratitude and frequency. You've just experienced a major shift, but instead of celebrating, you're focused on how much further others are. This comparison contracts your energy and can reverse your breakthrough. Practice staying in your own lane, celebrating your wins, and trusting your unique timeline. Finally, watch for the test pattern. The universe often sends final tests right at the breakthrough to see if you've truly integrated the new frequency. Something might go wrong, or a setback might appear right when everything was flowing. This isn't punishment or proof that it was too good to be true. It's the field checking. Is this your new baseline or just a temporary spike? Your response determines whether you've truly tipped. If you maintain your frequency and trust despite the test, you prove the shift is real and permanent. Living beyond the tipping point. Once you've successfully navigated your quantum wealth tipping point and integrated the breakthrough, you enter a completely new paradigm of wealth creation. This is what I call living beyond the tipping point, where abundance is your baseline, where flow is your normal, where wealth creation is effortless rather than effortful. Here's what this state looks like and how to sustain it. The first major shift is that effort reverses. Before the tipping point, creating wealth required effort and allowing ease required discipline. After the tipping point, allowing wealth flow is natural and blocking it would require effort. You flipped the default. Abundance isn't something you have to work toward, it's something you have to work to prevent. This reversal is the clearest sign you've truly crossed the threshold into a new frequency baseline. You also experience what I call abundance autopilot. Wealth-creating actions happen automatically without conscious decision or willpower. You naturally say yes to aligned opportunities and no to draining ones. You automatically invest in yourself. You instinctively take actions that compound your wealth. These aren't disciplines you maintain, they're natural expressions of who you've become. This autopilot effect is the fruit of the identity work you did during the accumulation phase. Money starts showing up from multiple, unexpected sources. Before the tipping point, you might have had one or two income streams you were actively working. After the tipping point, money appears from directions you didn't orchestrate or even anticipate. Old connections resurface with opportunities. Passive income streams activate. Unexpected windfalls appear. This multi-directional flow is evidence that your attractor field is now strong enough to draw abundance from the entire field, not just from the narrow channels you're personally working. You develop tipping point immunity. Smaller fluctuations in circumstances no longer affect your baseline frequency. A temporary dip in income doesn't send you into scarcity panic. A delayed opportunity doesn't trigger doubt. You've built such strong momentum that temporary variations don't reverse your trajectory. You know you're beyond the tipping point, so small setbacks are just noise, not signals. This immunity allows you to navigate challenges without losing frequency, which means you recover faster and continue ascending. Your relationship with time transforms. Before the tipping point, time feels scarce and urgent. You're racing against it, worried you're running out of time to create wealth. After the tipping point, time feels abundant and relaxed. You trust your trajectory, so you're not panicked about timing. This relaxed relationship with time actually accelerates manifestation because you're not creating resistance through urgency and fear. You notice that you're attracting different people into your field. People who resonate with your new frequency start appearing, while people aligned with your old frequency naturally fall away. This isn't about becoming better than anyone, it's about energetic matching. You're vibrating at a different frequency now, so different people match and mirror that frequency. This natural upgrade in relationships further reinforces your new baseline. Perhaps most surprisingly, you experience what I call quantum leveling, where you start approaching your next tipping point naturally. You're not striving or forcing toward it, you're simply maintaining your frequency, and the next level starts coming into view. Once you understand how tipping points work, you can navigate each subsequent one with more grace and less resistance. Wealth creation becomes a series of tipping points, each one building on the last, each one easier to navigate than the previous. You also develop teaching capacity, the natural ability to help others approach their own tipping points. Not because you became a teacher, but because you've walked the path and can recognize where others are on their journey. This teaching isn't just generous service, it's also frequency reinforcement. Helping others break through reinforces your own breakthrough. You become part of an upward spiral of collective abundance. Living beyond the tipping point means you've fundamentally shifted from someone trying to create wealth to someone who is wealth. The difference isn't semantic, it's energetic. You're not doing wealth practices to get wealth. You're being wealth, and the practices are natural expressions of that being. This is the integrated state where manifestation becomes inevitable, continuous, and exponentially expanding. So here's what you need to know: the tipping point is real. It's coming. Your job is to maintain your frequency, trust the accumulation phase, and recognize the signs that you're approaching critical mass. Don't quit before the breakthrough. Don't panic during the breakthrough. And once you're through, protect and maintain your new frequency baseline. Because nothing changes, nothing changes, nothing changes, until everything does. Stay the course. The tipping point is closer than you think.